Okay. Welcome back, everyone, to another soul-searching conversation with Sanaam. And I'm Sanaam Lalwani. I'm so fortunate to engage in these heart-warming conversations with my lovely guest speakers. I was inspired to embark on this journey with you all in order to connect on the soul level, see unity in diversity, and experience how we contribute to the universe. Our next guest is a beautiful person, inside and out, Sonia Samtani. Sonia is a clinical hypnotherapist and a neuro-linguistic programmer, or called NLP. The amazing part is that she is also a professional trainer in both these fields. Sonia is a qualified life coach and counselor, best-selling author, two-time TEDx speaker, and founder and CEO of Hong Kong's leading mental wellness facility, the All About You Center. Sonia has dedicated 16 years to raising global consciousness and is highly regarded and recognized as a thought leader in mental wellness. Her mission is to support anyone experiencing mental, emotional, or physical issues and to find peace by moving from judgment to self-acceptance. Whether it's through workshops, one-on-one sessions, or speaking events, Sonia is committed to helping people find peace with the past and move towards an authentic future. First of all, thank you so much for all you have done to contribute to the universe and to support all of us. And I know you have accomplished lots more. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. And thanks for that beautiful, heartfelt introduction.
After listening to all of your achievements, I can't help but ask you, and I'm sure our viewers here today would love to know, what inspired you to embark on this journey?
So what inspired me was my quest to understand the whys of life. I'm always been a very curious person. So why do things work a certain way? When I was a young child, I would notice how some people are feeling capable and confident, and some people are naturally not. And I would wonder why. What is inspiring this? And I was one of the ones that were not feeling so confident. And I would wonder why. What is causing all of this? And in the beginning, I thought the answer was external appearance. So I went on a quest to change my external appearance. I grew my hair, I lost weight. And then I thought that was the answer. And then life did start to look a little bit different. And I started getting people responding to me differently. And then I soon realized how dependent I was on external validation and their response. And when I would not get a positive response, I would go back to feeling the same way. And then I began to soul search a little bit more on the why. What gives us these beliefs? What creates these beliefs? And so then I started first going into books and researching how the mind works. I attended courses, and finally I went into this training. And along the way, I first understood how to use coping mechanisms that are more empowering. So I understood what makes me feel triggered. Like, let's say if somebody didn't respond to me positively, I would feel triggered. And then instead of feeling like I'm going down a spiral, what else could I do to cope with it and to feel better about it? And then when I started researching even more and learning more, I began to actually get answers to those deeper questions and understand where I cultivated those beliefs, understanding that actually I'm feeling not confident, not good enough, because I decided that I was not confident and not good enough earlier on in my life. And then I understood the circumstances that led to that. And then I began to undo it. And when I began to undo it, my level of confidence and my level of self-acceptance began to change exponentially. And those things that would trigger me wouldn't trigger me in the same way. And that's how my personal journey started. So I am, and I continue to be my ongoing client, keep looking within myself. You know, a lot of people say that therapists need to be perfect. And I'm here to say every therapist is a human being. The commitment is not to be at a perfect place because that doesn't exist. The commitment is to keep practicing our work on ourselves and to keep noticing when we are triggered and to keep resolving that and finding new parts of ourselves that we haven't yet loved or haven't yet accepted. And as we do that, then the triggers do become less and the level of self-confidence does become higher. So that's my story.
Wow, wow, that's really amazing. A lot of what the questions I have for you. I'm so sorry. Sorry about that. Amazing, amazing. Whatever you said, a lot of the questions I have are really going to hopefully dive deeper into all the questions, all what you just spoke about now. You know, it's just amazing. So that's why, without further ado, let's just dive straight into today's topic, which is about belief systems, our inner child, and how we use coping mechanisms to deflect from the truth and learn how to let go of these limiting beliefs in order to lead a more authentic life. So just so we're all on the same page, I thought of asking you, to explain in detail what are underlying belief systems and how are they formed?
Okay, so we'll start with a very basic, which is what is a belief, right? A belief is a thought that you perceive to be true. So if you perceive I'm not confident as a truth, that's your belief. If you believe that people are trustworthy as the truth, that's your belief. People are not trustworthy is another belief. And a belief system is a network of truths that come together and that a mass population believes. Like religions have systems of belief, right? So some religions believe in reincarnation, some don't. And they're sort of what is accepted through a mass. So those are beliefs. It's basically something that we've formed to be true. Now, the next part is how are beliefs formed, right? So how beliefs are formed takes us back to childhood. And they are formed through our interpretations of the world, of how we experience the world. So as we continue to experience life, something happens and we make an interpretation of it. So for example, you could be 3 years old. The something that has happened is you wake up in the middle of the night, nobody is around. You make it mean that they left me and I'm abandoned. So that's the formation of the belief. Is that what really happened? Not necessarily. So your parents could have gone to the neighbor's house for 5 minutes. So that's what happened. In your belief, I'm abandoned, they left me. So beliefs are formed when we make the same interpretation at least 3 times. And those 3 times could be at any area of life. So one could be at home with the family. Then you could be playing with your brother or sister and the friend comes and your brother and sister starts playing with the friend. So now you think once again, they left me. I'm the one left alone. I'm abandoned. Then you go to school and they start picking teams for sports. You're the last one to be picked. Oh, I'm the one that's left behind. So now you have the formation, the confirmation, and the acceptance that I am the abandoned one. I am the one who's left behind. And this is how beliefs are formed. They are through our interpretations of life. And this is why we can't blame anybody, right? We can't blame our parents. We can't blame society. We can't blame anyone at all because it's ours. It's our interpretation. Yeah, we get influenced. We do get influenced by society and everyone, but at the end of the day, we are responsible for it.
Yeah. So then how does that affect us in our day-to-day life? Like suppose this is that belief that, I'm abandoned, for example, like you gave. How does that affect us every day when we are living? Like, okay, it's gotten confirmed, like you said, after it's been, the foundation is there. But yeah, how does that happen?
It affects harms us by distorting our reality. Because once we have a belief, it's like you wear a lens. It's like you wear glasses that are tainted in blue or whatever color is your belief. And that is how you see the world. So even if, let's say, somebody is inviting people to a party and you are invitation number 20, and because you got invited as the 20th phone call, once again, I'm the last one, I'm left, you distort reality to once again confirm that I am the abandoned one, I am left behind, even if it's not true.
Yes.
So it's the lens you wear and it distorts reality. But the good thing is we don't only have sabotaging beliefs. We don't only have limiting beliefs, we have both. If we had only limiting beliefs, we would all be pretty traumatic day to day.
Yeah. That's true, because that was going to be my next question. I was just going to ask, is it possible to have belief systems that also work for us? Because if everything is limiting, it can be quite scary to live in that type of a world.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have what I call supporting beliefs and sabotaging beliefs. So you obviously have made some interpretations that work for you too. So your interpretation could be I'm loved by my family, I'm important, I'm special. You have other beliefs that say, well, actually, I don't feel wanted here, I'm not included. So we can actually have opposite beliefs coexisting at the same time.
Okay.
So let's say in one strata of life, like in family, you believe that I'm loved and wanted. In friendships, you believe I'm not included and I'm not wanted. So it's quite complex, actually. And it's really helps for you to introspect, to get to know your beliefs, because we all have a spectrum of beliefs that support us, beliefs that limit us, and they show up differently. So whenever life is working for you, you have supporting beliefs. And how do you know you have beliefs that are not supporting you? Whenever you want something, you find that it's logical. For example, I want to be a confident public speaker. It's logical because I have the tools, yet I can't do it. Or I want to be able to feel comfortable on a plane. I think everyone else can, why can't I? Yet I can't do it, right? So when you feel as if it's logical to feel a certain way, you want to feel a certain way, yet your experience is that you don't. That's a good indication that there is a sabotaging belief in the way.
And then that sabotaging belief stops you from doing something that you want to do. And then does fear set in, or how?
Yeah, fears, part of it. So like if the plane example, I want to feel comfortable on a plane, yet there's a belief that says I'm not safe. I'm not safe. So I can't feel the way I want. Or I want to feel comfortable speaking in public, yet there is a belief that says they don't like me. And that's much stronger than my desire. And so when you have that experience of life, then there is some sabotaging belief that is running you in the background. And those beliefs are more powerful than your desires. And that's the only reason why we do this work. We do self-work, we go to a therapist, we do our meditations, we do our affirmations in order to actually do something about those beliefs.
Okay, so that's what my next question was. How do you break free from the sabotaging pattern? Do you have to dwell deeper, basically, right, into what it is that's stopping us?
Yes, exactly. When we are addressing patterns, first it works to understand what are these patterns? In what way is it sabotaging me? Because what are sabotaging loops? It's when we do things that are against ourselves. Like I know that I'm about to get a promotion, but I'm going to have a fight with the boss. And I think, I don't know why I did it. Or I know that I am wanting to lose weight. I'm overweight, yet I can't stop myself from overeating. And I don't even need that food. Or addictive behaviors. That is self-sabotaging. And instead of judging that behavior, like it's wrong to overeat, it's wrong to do this, let's understand why you do it in the first place. Because if you understand why, again, I come back to this whole why thing because I'm a real why person and that's what helps to heal. Then you will understand that every behavior is motivated by something. Now, let's say that somebody is overeating And instead of judging, I shouldn't overeat, and let me only eat a certain amount, and I'll make a New Year's resolution. And most New Year's resolutions don't make it past the first few weeks, right? Universally, because
Wow.
we keep thinking about the behavior. Oh, let me stop this and let me do something else. And we're
Yes.
only focusing on the behavior, but we're not focusing on what drives that behavior. Then why am I doing that in the first place? And what drives that behavior is a belief. So I'm overeating. When do I overeat? Let's say it's at midnight. I binge eat. Okay. So what happens just before you binge eat? It's when I start to feel like my life is not going anywhere. I start to feel really lonely. I start to feel something I don't want to feel. So then I start to eat to cover up that. So actually, the problem is not the eating. The
Yes.
problem is what's happening before the eating and what the eating is covering up. And once we address that, then we can stop sabotaging ourselves. Does that make sense?
That's very, very powerful. I'm just trying to digest it and take it in because there's a lot that you just spoke about now. And because I was just thinking like stress really comes in our mind, is in your mind. It's when you're unable. I just feel stress comes in when your mind is unable to cope with the external changes. And life shows us that we cannot control our environment and we cannot change the situations around us. So it is vital to find that strength from within. So I was just thinking, like, could you advise our viewers on how we can move from feeling like this feeling of, I'm not good enough or I'm feeling judged to becoming more self-accepting and finding that peace within?
Yeah, sure. And the irony of it is that if we are not feeling at peace within, the way to move from it is not to say to yourself, I shouldn't feel this way. Let me feel better. So right now I'm feeling scared or unconfident. I shouldn't feel this. So let me slap on an affirmation and say, I'm confident, I'm confident, I'm confident, right? And I do believe in affirmations, except for we need to use it effectively. And if we are using it in a way where we're still judging underneath, the way I'm feeling is not okay. It's not okay to be unconfident. It's not okay to be scared. So let me just say, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. That actually doesn't acknowledge the truth. And in the long run, it doesn't work. So the way to actually make it work is to give love to the part of you that is not feeling confident instead of judging it. To give compassion and kindness to the part of you that is feeling I'm not okay. Because these parts of you, what are they craving the most? They're actually craving acknowledgement, understanding, and acceptance. And when we are just saying, I should feel better, we're not giving that acceptance. We're pretending to give that acceptance by saying, I should accept, but actually we're not.
Yeah.
So if we were to truly be authentic, it's about making space for those parts of us that are feeling not good enough, giving love to those parts of us that are not feeling good enough. And the irony is the moment you give it love, you are accepting it. And when you accept it, it doesn't need to feel not good enough anymore. Then it starts to change. And at that point, if you say an affirmation, it is so much more powerful.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. I think that really leads us to talking more about the inner child, I think, because I was hoping, like you can explain a little bit about the inner child and maybe if you could demonstrate how we could talk to our inner child and how we can, send that love and to that part of us that we do not accept, if that could be done, that would be just amazing.
Yeah, it's kind of what we do in sessions. So maybe
Okay.
let's start by understanding the concept of an inner
Yeah.
child.
Yeah.
Yeah. So an inner child is a part of you that is stuck in the pain of the past. So there are two big misconceptions that people have with this word inner child. The first one is that people think that child means a young, like very young, like 5 years old, 6 years old, or at least under the legal age of 18. Okay, that's the first misconception. It's actually young. And the second misconception is there is one inner child that we have. It's a young 5, 6 years old, and let's give it love. So my concept of inner child is it's not just one. We can have millions of inner children. Yeah.
Okay.
Any time in your life where you are not feeling at peace, where you are feeling not good enough, you're creating an inner child. You're creating a part of you that's stuck. Like, let's say the examples that I gave earlier on of the 3-year-old that woke up in the middle of the night and nobody was there. There's one inner child that is stuck at that moment. Then I'm playing with my sibling, the sibling's friend comes, and then I feel ignored. Another inner child. And then at school, another inner child. Then when I come home to eat and I think that, mom is going to make my favorite dish because that's what she said this morning. And she just mistakenly forgets about it and makes the favorite dish of my brother or sister. Ooh, another inner child. Okay, if you make it mean that. So in this way, anytime that we are feeling not okay, we are creating an inner child because consciousness, which is our awareness, gets stuck at that moment and it doesn't grow up. So then the two misconceptions to resolve it is, one, we can have millions. And the second one is an inner child is younger than this moment. So it doesn't have to actually be a child. If something happened to you yesterday and you felt traumatized by it, that's an inner child because it's younger than this moment. So we can create inner children all the time, and we do. We do. Anytime that there is trauma, anytime that we're in pain, we are producing inner children.
That's really scary, actually, to hear. I was going to say it's fascinating, but now that you say that you can keep doing it, because I was going to ask you that even as a teenager, can you have an inner child? But clearly, I guess you can.
We can have an 80-year-old inner child.
Wow.
If we are 80 years old, if something happens. But the thing is that now we can learn to accept that this is what happens.
Okay.
And every inner child gives us the opportunity to look at that part of us that is in pain and give it love.
Okay.
And it's really a part of life, right? So there are so many things that we, through our conditioning, that we think life shouldn't be like this.
Yeah.
Life shouldn't be painful. Life shouldn't have the downs. It should have the ups. We shouldn't be sad. We shouldn't be angry. Now, all of these shoulds and rules is actually what's caused the problem. The problem is not the inner child. The problem is that our rule says that we shouldn't have inner children or trauma or pain. And we are living in duality. We are living on earth. We're living in a place where we can't escape it. Pain is a part of life.
Yeah.
And so if we can shift that mindset and accept that it will be there, that is one of the best gifts that we can start to give to ourselves. I know it's a very deep concept.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, and sometimes a bit scary too if you don't feel you're ready to dwell into that, of course. But it's great that you're bringing this up. So I think a lot of our viewers can be alerted by this in case they have not learned anything about the inner child. And it's just really nice to bring up these topics. And I just feel, if would you be able to walk us through what you would say to an inner child, maybe for just short?
I can give you just a concept of what is needed, right?
Yeah.
So let's say that you know that there is something in the past that has caused you pain and trauma. And when you think about it today, it's still causing you pain and trauma. That means consciousness is stuck there. Now, extreme example could be that you were violated or you were hit or something happened to you. When you think about it, you still feel it. Or it can even be shallower things that are still issues for you. Like you were not invited somewhere, you felt bad about it. When you think about it, you're still feeling bad about it. You didn't get the grade you want. You didn't get the promotion you want. You still feel bad about it. Okay? So then how do we address that? You do a simple visualization where you can imagine yourself talking to that younger version of you. So now what is happening? Who is talking first? It's the adult of today, who I am today. So for me, it would be the Sonia of today, my present age, who I am, talking to a younger version of me that is stuck in whatever situation is there in the past. Now, let's not get sucked into, oh, I look at her and I'll tell her, you're fine, I love you, and everything is okay. Okay, so it's not about that. First, let me imagine seeing her. Okay. Then let me listen to her. It's not about what I want to say. It's not about me saying, you're okay, you're okay. It's about me listening to how is she feeling? Now, let's say if what happened is I was bullied in the past and I'm talking to my teenage self who was called names, and I invite that teenage part into the room. Let me look at her body language. Let me look at her face and let me see how she's feeling. Maybe she's feeling inferior. Maybe she's feeling not good looking. Maybe she's feeling like she's not worthy. So that is the first thing to do, to listen. Then listen to what does that part need. So you're actually not using your own sense, you are hearing. Maybe what she needs is to be acknowledged. Maybe she needs a hug. Maybe she needs love. And as that adult of today, I go up to her and then I start to give her what she needs. If she needs acknowledgement, I will say, I acknowledge you. I acknowledge you for being beautiful. I acknowledge you for trying your best. I acknowledge you for surviving this trauma and having the strength to do that. Then, as the adult, I can say, I see you. I know you're a part of me. I hear you. I acknowledge you. I accept you. I have space for you. So you are basically loving that part of you the same way that you as a parent would love your child and give that sort of unconditional love or whatever it is that you would call it to that part of you that is stuck there. That is acknowledging and healing an inner child. It is literally through a visualization, getting in touch with those parts, seeing them, listening to them, checking what they need, giving it to them, and bonding with them. Now, that then becomes you connecting to yourself at such a beautiful and deep level. When that happens, sometimes people cry because it's so touching to get it, and allow yourself to cry because you're moving the stuck energy, that those tears were stuck for that younger version of you. So if you need to cry, do it. If someone feels like I wasn't able to express my anger because I was being tortured, but I didn't say anything back. So what I need to do is scream. That's fine. Do it. Do it in a private place. You don't have to do this in front of anyone. And then what you are then doing is moving the energy that was stuck at that young age, let's say the teenager. And finally, consciousness is not stuck at that point. And that inner child can move, and that inner child no longer needs to trigger you. So I'm actually telling you what happens in therapy.
Yeah, exactly. That's really beautiful. And I'm sure, I mean, if anyone is wanting to go deeper, they should be able to contact you and, go through that with you, because it will be an amazing experience, I'm sure. But that's really beautiful. I wanted to ask you if you could also expand a little bit on coping mechanisms and defense mechanisms, and give us some examples of it, because I feel that that's a part of the ego that comes up, that tries to protect us from not getting hurt. But I'm not sure if that's pretty much what it is. But I thought if you could go deeper and explain a little bit about that.
That is exactly what it is. It is a part of us that quips up and that is here to protect us from pain. So, again, my whole work is about not judging. So I'm not judging coping mechanisms as wrong or bad. It's about understanding what they do and what the place for it is. And so on one side of it, a coping mechanism prevents you from feeling pain. Let's say if the pain is you lost your job. As a coping mechanism, what can you do? You can be in denial and escape from it, or you can work extra hard to prove that you are good enough. If the pain that you are experiencing is that you don't want to face that COVID is a reality, you can be in denial and pretend that it's not even there. If the pain that you feel is that you're not good enough, you can then start to become the pleaser and start to do whatever it is so that other people can validate you. So basically, coping mechanisms can be overcompensation, it can be being in denial, it can be minimizing reality. So you don't like feeling as if I was in trauma, I was tortured, or I was bullied. So you say it was nothing. It was nothing. Other people have had it so much worse. it was nothing. So now you're minimizing, so you're not facing your own pain, right? So it's things that we do to protect ourselves from feeling pain. At the same time, it sabotages us to have these coping mechanisms because we're not moving through that pain, because the pain has already happened.
Yeah.
Now, by putting a coping mechanism, it's like putting wrapping paper on top of mud. It doesn't mean the mud is not there. It's still there. So the pain is already there.
Yeah.
And if we move past the coping mechanisms, we can actually deal and process that pain. So again, this is what we do in therapy. We get people to acknowledge the coping mechanisms that they've had and actually say, okay, it's benefited me. I thank you for being here. You've served me by protecting me, but there's also pain that is stuck because of it. So once we move past it, let's address it. I've actually put coping mechanisms into 3 simple categories so we can understand it, right? So what do we do? So my categories are, we can either be the pleaser and be the hero and do everything well. Like if I'm feeling mother's guilt and I didn't spend enough time, then I'll overcompensate and become the heroic mom and do this and make food in a certain way and do something extra. So we become the hero pleasers. The other coping mechanism is we become the rebels and we pretend that it doesn't matter and we pretend I don't care and we go against the system and do something completely the opposite. And the third characteristic is we are the escape artist. So we run away from reality and we run into addictions or we run into something else and pretend that it's not there at all. So it's the hero, the rebel, or the escape artist.
Wow, wow, that's really clear how you have put it together. I guess while you're talking, I'm sure all of us are thinking of our lives and seeing what it is that, maybe are we, using in our lives as well. So that's why I think my mind is like going in different directions, but it's really clear what you have just explained, and it makes a lot of sense.
Which
So
is good, yeah. Nice to apply it.
Yeah. I think it's like you just want to make sure you know now how to handle it. And I think that's what you do best, right? You help us go through whatever it is to handle it.
Understand what you do and also get that we've all done it, right? So we've
Yeah.
all done these roles. It's not like which one am I? We've tried all of them. So we've
Okay.
tried the hero, but we will normally have one that's predominant. Yeah,
Yes.
one that's more than the others, but we
Yeah.
would have tried all of them.
Okay, I just have a very deep question I wanted to ask you. As the psychologist Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Can you shed some light on this quote?
Yeah, that is a deep question. That is pointing to what we said earlier. What is the unconscious? The unconscious is your belief systems that are running you in the background. And until you are aware of it, they will continue to run you and you won't even know it. So until you make the unconscious conscious, which means you understand your belief systems, they will continue to play in a loop. So for example, if in your unconscious belief system, you say that I cannot trust people, how is that playing out in your life? Maybe you don't have close relationships, but you don't even know why. Other people can have close relationships, but you don't. Or you find it difficult to find a partner, or you find it difficult to open up. So it's playing out in your life, but you don't even know why it's playing out because it's the unconscious. So awareness of what are these beliefs, what are these tapes playing in the background will give you awareness of how it's manifesting in your behavior. And then you can do something about it only with awareness.
With you. That's, I think, the most important thing, right? Once you're aware and alert about something, then only you can see what's happening in your life. Otherwise, you're on like autopilot. You're just kind of doing things without really thinking consciously. Amazing. This is, I did a lot of psychology. I was a psychology major, but I didn't really pursue it further into, PhD or a master's or anything. But yeah, it's always been fascinating for me to talk about psychology and psychological
Yeah, I can hear that. You're interested in how the mind works. And,
Yeah,
quotes like this are quite deep and they help explain so many things.
yeah. That's what I was just thinking. Let me, you'd be the best person to really talk about this. But also, I just felt that after what we have learned today from you, how can we enhance our new identity, which we once we start realizing that, okay, these are the things that are stopping me, and we want to enhance this new identity and gradually erase the past beliefs that hinder us from reaching that state of feeling free from it. I was just wondering if you could give us some practical tips that we can practice.
Yeah,
Um,
sure. The background of it would be take it as baby steps, one step at a time. So it's not about a destination where we are going to be healed and fixed. It is about the journey. And all we can do is be a little more self-loving than we were yesterday. And tomorrow be a little bit more than we were today. And that is the way to think about it. If we think about it as a destination, it will bring up judgment. Oh, you're not there yet. You should be there. You should be self-accepting and self-believing. You're not believing. That's not okay, right? And it's
yes,
not about doing that to ourselves because it'll take us back to ground zero.
yeah.
And that doesn't work.
Mm.
So first, look at this as a journey with no fixed destination. And the journey is going to be something we will be doing till our last breath. So we'll be believing in ourselves more and more. We'll be accepting ourselves more and more continually till our last breath. And whenever we notice parts of us that are not believing in us, it's just a chance to apply this and to look within. Yeah. The other background thing to understand is that no matter what self-work we do, we are not going to be free from emotions because emotions are here for us to feel. And, a lot of people think that spirituality means I feel nothing, I'm so zen and detached.
Yeah.
It's actually not really that. It's about
Yeah.
I'm so much at peace with my emotions that it comes across as being zen because I'm feeling it fully, but I'm not judging it. If I'm sad and I'm so at peace with my sadness, then I can even tear and be at peace with that. So it's feeling fully as opposed to not feeling.
Okay.
So that's two things to understand in the background. And in saying that, then the tips would be just some daily rituals. So what are the simple daily rituals that we can do to have awareness in our lives? And just have two things that we can do as bookmarks of the day, which means it's something to do at night just before sleeping and something to do in the morning just before waking up. And if we can do these two things, then we are already beginning to live very consciously. And I'm a big believer in keeping it simple. So let's not make ourselves do 1 hour ritual at the night and 2 hours in the morning, because that's just a lot, especially for people that are not doing much at the moment. So at night, what can we do? At night, understand that the last thought you think just before you go to bed is the thought that will get processed into your subconscious mind when you sleep at night. So every night when you go to sleep, the entire day gets digested. And how does it get digested? The last thought you think before sleeping goes in first. And then it gets digested. The first thought you had in the morning goes in last, which means that your last thoughts before going to bed are important. And that's why so many people say, sleep on a good note, sleep on a happy note. So what I would suggest people to do is just do a reflection before going to bed. Reflect on everything that happened in the day. And then check with yourself. Am I still feeling emotionally charged about anything? Am I still feeling that something is not okay? And if that is the case, can I maybe take deep breaths? Can I address that part of me? Can I give love and acceptance to that part of me so I don't sleep with it? And if you're not sleeping with it, by the way, you're preventing any inner child from getting created. So this is a way to prevent inner children.
Yes.
So do a daily review, reflect. And as you are reflecting, you are simultaneously, closing the files. So you're not sleeping with the files open. A nice way to think about this is like your mobile phone, those apps, right? So if you have apps that are open in the background, this is what causes anxiety in people who can't sleep, because you're not shutting down those files at night and they're still running. So when we're doing that daily review and reflection, we are acknowledging we're closing those files, breathing out the charges. And once you do that, then say a simple affirmation 21 times and go to sleep. That is a tip for the night.
Yeah. Even I was thinking that if you sleep with the last thing in your mind is to be on your phone and to see social media, the dreams and stuff that you can have really can affect you. So this is really a good tip that you have given us. Thank you. In fact, I have a really nice quote that I found about spirituality when you were saying, by Teal Swan, an American spiritual teacher. And she says, many people think that being spiritual means being positive, but being spiritual means being conscious and aware. We must become authentic. Authenticity includes both positive and negative. And I thought that was really apt with what you were saying. And I just wanted to share that.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm one of those, busters of this positive thinking notion. So, a lot of people think it's about being positive, positive, positive. And from where I come from, positive is a judgment, which is the opposite of negative. So you cannot have positive without understanding that negative exists too. Yeah. So I would resonate with Teal Swan, and it's about being in acceptance of both. Yeah. And if you're being in acceptance of both, you're kind of rising above it, and you're not going to oscillate between the two.
Yeah, that's really true. The duality is what gets us stuck very often, right?
Yeah, and it's good. Like now, I think people are becoming so much more aware. Before it was like, think positive and be happy. Now we understand that we cannot do that because we are here to face the dark and the light. We cannot be positive all the time. We cannot be happy all the time. So now what? Yeah. Now let's be aware and accept both sides.
Yeah, true, really true. And the best part is when you said you have to rise above it. I think that's the most important thing that we need to strive for, because that's what we learn in spirituality too. But and I have another question. As we have learned from you that our belief systems, mostly they stem from childhood, but not all of them. What can one do as a conscious parent to raise a child in a way to enrich their childhood? Of course, we cannot eradicate everything and they will go through their own journey. But as a conscious parent, maybe if you could give a few tips, that would be really nice, I think.
Sure. I'm actually doing a conscious parenting workshop for 3 hours this weekend.
Oh,
so it's a long topic.
So just really simple.
Yeah, sure. In a nutshell, to be conscious means to be aware. So this is, instead of giving your child a laundry list of shoulds and rules, do this, don't do this, do this, don't do this. It's about understanding your child and guiding your child through choice and consequence. So it's about, okay, you make the choice to spill this glass of water. The consequence is the carpet is wet. So it's not about right or wrong or good or bad. It's a consequence of that. Can they be responsible for the consequence of it? Can they understand what led to it? Maybe what led to it is I was looking somewhere else. Okay. So it's about now understanding them and inviting them to understand more. That is being conscious. The unconscious is a list of, you did that, it's bad, it's wrong, don't do that again. But they don't even know what to do again or not to do again. And then there's judgment, and there's judgment around that. So a conscious parent, generally speaking, is moving from playing the role of the orchestrator, the conductor of the orchestrator who says, you do this, you play this instrument, you are doing it right or wrong, and become the gardener, where you are basically understanding that I cannot control when the plant is going to grow. It's got its own journey. I cannot control when it's going to produce a flower. All I can do is fertilize, set an environment that is healthy, watch the plant grow, and see what it becomes, basically. Very beautiful.
This example is really beautiful, and it reminds me of the serenity prayer that we have. That God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I think that really, if we can, have that. I know I learned it as a child. My mom would make sure that, she would not make sure, but she would always say this prayer for me, and would make me try to understand the meaning of it.
Yeah, that is so beautiful. I love that serenity prayer as well. And that is, it's profound because that's exactly what we've been talking about in the last
Yeah.
45 minutes.
Yeah.
It is about knowing what is under my control, what is not under my control. Can I accept, or do I need to take action? And do I have the discernment? That is so beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, it is a beautiful prayer. I thought this as the final question. Could you share some parting words of wisdom for us to take away from today's talk? I know you told us many, many interesting things, but if there are just a few things that you'd like us to take away from today's talk.
Sure. Well, let's understand that at the end of the day, you are your own master. Be your own master is a quote. It's a workshop that I do. And in order to be your own master, we would need to understand that it's all about us. That's why it's all about you. You have created your belief systems, you have created your thoughts, you have created your perceptive filters, you have created the actions that you take or don't take. The choice is yours. And if you are aware and you know that the choice is yours, it's not about judging those choices. It's about making the choices that are in alignment with what you would love and being loving to yourself on the journey, because it really is all about you.
Wow, that is beautiful. And I did see on your Insta page that you are doing a master class. And would you like to explain a little bit about the class you're doing?
Sure. So I actually have developed this series in the last year, and it's called Be Your Own Master. And it's about understanding life and understanding how it works. Because, see, if we're looking at life as a journey, you are the driver, it's your car, it's your journey, it's your choices. And all that any course can explain to you is the mechanics of the car, how does it work, and the landscape of the environment, how does life work. So that is what my course intends to do. It explains the landscape of life. And in the first level, we explain how your mind works. What is the function of the mind? How do we develop belief systems? We go much deeper than what I've explained today. We explain how your personality develops. We explain how inner children are formed. And then we do a lot of exercises to eradicate limiting beliefs and to move towards love and acceptance. In my level 2, we talk about inner child fully. It's a complete inner child healing course. And in level, is
I clear that already?
Let's see where it's gotten. Yeah, if all of you could mute yourself. Sorry about that disturbance. Oh, I think you've been muted too now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, can hear you.
Yeah. Yeah, so in that Be Your Own Master, it's explaining how life works. In level 2, I explain the inner child. I explain how inner child are formed, and we get to do a lot of healing with coping mechanisms. What coping mechanisms do we use? What role do we play in a family? How to create a functional family? What is a dysfunctional family? How do children develop? And then in level 3, we go very deep on the purpose of your life, who you are, why are you here? How have you incarnated in this form? What needs to happen? So it is quite a deep curriculum.
That's really beautiful and wonderful to hear that you've come up with this program. I wanted to just say a few more words, and actually there was something I found on your Insta page which I wanted to read, which really summarizes very well what we spoke about today. But before that, I just wanted to say that most of our problems in life come because of two reasons. We act without thinking, or we keep thinking without acting. Nothing changes until you do something about it. Whatever you're not changing, you're choosing. So on your Insta page, you really said something beautiful, and here it goes. As a child, it's easy to be ourselves and express our truth. After that, we get exposed to conditioning, and we receive rules about how we should be, then we unconsciously attach our sense of self-worth to these rules. We think, only if I'm adjusting, I'll be loved, or only if I'm successful, I'll be good enough. We strive to meet those rules, and when we don't, then we develop defensive behavior. And with that, we slowly lose ourselves. One day, we may wake up and realize we were so busy following those rules and developing coping strategies that we've lost our sense of self. We don't know what it's like to feel good enough just because. With this awareness, we have a choice. We can keep following those old rules, or we can choose to drop and remove the barrier to our self-worth. This gives people the freedom to choose new ways of being that are more aligned to their current values. So it is really awesome how you have written this on your Insta page, and I came across it and I really wanted to share it as how beautifully you have summarized what you've spoken today. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you. It was so nice to hear and to know that you've done this research.
Yeah, no, it was just, I just scrolled it and it just happened to come up just like yesterday or today. And I'm like, okay, this is really meant to be. And so another motivational quote that I read, which is quite deep and profound, is it's very simple, but it's very deep. You are the artist of your own life. Don't hand the paintbrush to anyone else. That I really like that, and I just found that is a very simple way of thinking of it. And finally, Satyasai Baba says, you have it in your power to make your days on earth a path of flowers instead of a path of thorns. And if you take one step towards me, I will take 100 steps towards you. So this just helps me to think that I make the first effort, and then, God will help us along the way as well. So that whole thing about being conscious and being aware, I think that's really what I'm going to take home today. And so it was just lovely to talk to you. And I was just hoping that that you continue to inspire people, and you continue with the great work that you've been doing to contribute to the whole universe, and I'm so glad you've used this platform to do it for me as well. And that's been really, really
Thanks, Sanaam. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. And thanks for all of your efforts to put this together, to come up with the questions, do all the research. It's been really nice chatting. And what I would say to the viewers as well is there's been a lot of information and maybe just a lot of different concepts. So if you take even one thing and in that one thing, imbibe it in your life in some way, that's all that's needed, because we don't have to apply everything all the time. It is a lot.
Yeah, that's really true. As a few people are saying, thank you so much, Sonia and Sanam, and such a great meeting. And thank you, ladies, for a lovely and useful conversation. So I really would encourage you all to follow Sonia on her Insta page. So it's Sonia Samtani _, correct?
Yeah.
The other one is All About You Wellness Center, and center is spelled RE at the end, correct? Yeah. So so if you have any more questions and you'd like to do a session with Sonia, that would be really amazing. I'm sure you can DM her, and I'm sure she'll be able to guide you, because she's been a very good inspiration for me. So thank you so much again.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thanks for holding the space. It's been a beautiful experience to be your guest.
Thank you. All right. So see you.
Bye. Bye, everybody. Bye. And thanks for all the notes. Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you once again.